Disseminating dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar and 1 p.m. in Abuja. Good afternoon and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on WADR.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. Senegalese President Macky Sall proposes a general amnesty bill as national dialogue enters day 2 with a major boycott from political and civil society actors. Unknown gunmen in Burkina Faso killed at least 14 in a mosque attack in the Sahel region. Religious leaders in Guinea call for dialogue as a national strike grips Conakry, leaving 2 dead in confrontations. And the federal government of Nigeria orders immediate conditional cash transfers to 12 million households to cushion the hard economic realities.
In addition, particularly given that whilst the macroeconomic reforms, the important reforms, not just 1 or 2 measures, but the whole package of reforms is relatively on track.
Stay with us for details of these stories and more.
Here is Abdullahi Hassan with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining this edition of Newslink and a warm welcome to our listeners in the Gambia, Ghana and Liberia. Let's begin this edition in Senegal with the introduction of an amnesty bill by President Macky Sall related to violence stemming from protests between 2021 and 2024. President Sall disclosed this amnesty proposal on the first day of the political dialogue he initiated with various political figures to determine a new date for the 2024 postponed presidential election. Ogebirika has more.
Addressing the National Dialogue Conference in Jamnajil, about 30 kilometers from the capital Dakar, the Senegalese head of state emphasized that the proposed bill is aimed at addressing the bloody events that rocked the country in March 2021 following the arrest of opposition figure Ousmane Sonko. The unrest continued in June 2023 when Sonko was convicted of corruption of youth and more recently in February 2024 in response to the postponement of the presidential election. According to a government report, 13 deaths were recorded in the March 2021 incident, while Amnesty International reported 29 casualties in June 2023. The protest in February 2024, triggered by the election delay, resulted in 4 fatalities. President Sall expressed the hope that the election would take place before the end of winter, which commences in June. Out of the 19 candidates validated by the Constitutional Council, only 2 attended the dialogue. The current Prime Minister and presidential coalition candidate, Amadou Ba, and former Prime Minister Mohamed Boun Abdallah Dionne. The 16 candidates aligned with the Front for the presidential election of February 25 submitted requests to the Constitutional Council on Monday morning, seeking acknowledgement and redress for what they perceive as the president's failure to set the election date in compliance with the Constitutional Council's decision.
Ogebirika with that report. Still in Senegal, the national dialogue continues with a major boycott by 16 of the qualified presidential candidates under the FC25 coalition and civil society organization. Public commentators and analysts blame the present situation on institutional failure. At least this opinion was endorsed by Ibrahima Khan, an AU governance expert, who additionally says lack of accountability for existing operational frameworks and structure of certain Senegalese institutions like the Constitutional Council would remain a challenge even after this current national dialogue unless urgent actions are taken.
The crisis that we went through these few days showed us what kind of changes that we need for our political system to sustain. One is a president that has superpowers. It cannot help in a democratic society. President who can do everything that he wants. There need to be check and balances. 2, we need to strengthen our constitutional council. Now that even the council set health realizing that it has an important role to play, because all these things that are happening now, who is deciding at the end of the day? It's the Constitutional Council. So that Constitutional Council needs to be strengthened, the way it's constituted to be looked at again, how the people who at the Constitutional Council will be nominated, all these needs to be really strengthened to make sure that those who will be members of this important institution will be selected on the basis of their knowledge, of their experience, and their capacity to resist to some of the, the kind of situation that they went through. And three, I think we need also to look at what role the parliament can play. That's also need to be sorted out. So I think this experience is really good for Senegal because and for West Africa and for the continent, because everybody is watching Senegal.
Ibrahim Khan is an AU governance expert. Let's now head to Mali, where the transitional authorities have conveyed their lack of interest in the organization of the upcoming election. In a media interview on Monday, Prime Minister Shogel Kokala Maïga stated that the election is considered a subsidiary. This declaration has sparked varied reactions from political and civil society groups, with some advocating for an end to the transition. Sankle Janko brings more reports.
Since the announcement of the postponement of the presidential election in September, the Malian authorities have yet to disclose a new date. In a national television broadcast, the Prime Minister indicated that this matter is not currently a priority for the transitional government. Jamil Bita, a member of the M5 RFP supporting the transitional authorities, emphasizes the importance of organizing a credible election, even if it requires taking the necessary time. Within the new opposition coalition, Synergy of Action for Mali, the transitional authorities' position is seen as an attempt to cling to power, according to its spokesperson, Yusuf Daba Jawara. Badra Alusako, president of the Consortium of Civil Society Organizations, insists that the organization of the presidential election is imperative. In January, Mali's Minister of Territorial Administration, Colonel Abdoulaye Maïga, expressed the ruling military's determination to expedite the presidential election, but provided no further details.
Sankule Janko, that report filed in by WADR's Bamako correspondent Ali Cham.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
As a reminder, we stream live on WADR.org and on Facebook, WADR English Service. We remain in the Sahel because no fewer than 14 Muslim worshippers were killed during a deadly assault on a mosque in Gumu province east of Burkina Faso. The Federation of Islamic Associations of Burkina Faso conveying the distress information revealed that the attack occurred on Sunday. As Augustine Cole reports, at least 15 people were killed on the same day in an attack on a church during Sunday prayers in Central Province located in the Sahel region.
The press statement issued by the Federation of Islamic Associations of Burkina Faso reports that the attack occurred in the eastern region, specifically in the town of Natiabouani. The statement laments that lawless individuals have once again carried out reprehensible and cowardly attacks on a mosque, resulting in the tragic deaths of several worshippers, including the local Grand Imam. As of now, the official death toll stands at 14 among the mosque's faithful, with 2 additional casualties succumbing to injuries in the hospital. The press release from the Federation of Islamic Associations of Burkina Faso strongly condemns these unjustifiable and barbaric acts, expressing profound dismay for the painful circumstances inflicted upon the country. In a separate incident over the weekend, 15 members of the Catholic Church were tragically killed in the Sahel region, specifically in the village of Esakin. According to a press release from the Vicar General of the Diocese of Dori, these individuals had gathered in the church for Sunday prayers when the attack occurred.
Augustine Cole with that report. More on security. The Beninese army says 4 soldiers lost their lives in a terrorist attack on February 17, 2024 in Park W. The Islam Muslim support group claimed responsibility for the attack on the Beninese army and said that it had seized material resources on the occasion. Now in Guinea, religious leaders are urging for dialogue between the government and trade unions as workers launched a national strike across the country. The strike, which led to the closure of businesses and disruptions in the mining sector on Monday, revolved around demands for increased wages, the removal of internet restrictions, and the release of a detained trade union leader. The capital, Conakry, witnessed deserted streets, closed banks, and quiet markets during the strike. The deployment of security forces at major road junctions resulted in a tragic confrontation with protesters, leading to the unfortunate death of 2 people. Imo Edet completes the story.
The protests originated from the call for increased wages and the release of Seko Jamal Pendesa, who was sentenced to 6 months in prison, including a 3-year suspended sentence on February 23, 2024. With no progress in securing his release, the strike emerged as the sole avenue for the union's demands. In the capital city of Conakry, all sectors, including transportation, schools, banks, and commerce, are grappling with significant disruptions, bringing the daily lives of Guineans to a standstill. Tragically, in the suburbs of Conakry along the Prince Highway, a young schoolboy lost his life during clashes between the police and protesters. Despite widespread adherence to the strike slogan, religious leaders have initiated a final mediation effort with trade unionists aiming to achieve a peaceful resolution to the crisis. Following a meeting with religious leaders, the trade union movement stated on Monday afternoon that the strike will persist until their demands are addressed. The Secretary General of the Ministry of Labour and Public Service reconfirmed the government's willingness to engage in dialogue with the union, underscoring the commitment to finding common ground and resolving the crisis that has gripped the country.
Imo Edet reporting. Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo is scheduled to deliver the State of the Nation address to Parliament today as prescribed by Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution. This constitutional provision requires the President to address the nation through Parliament at the beginning of each session. During his address, Akufo-Addo is expected to provide updates on various sectors including security, governance, education, health, infrastructure, and the fight against corruption. From Accra, Nade Tete reports.
The president is expected to highlight the accomplishments of his administration and articulate the policies and programs that are on the agenda for the coming year. The Ghana Chamber of Commerce is particularly interested in hearing specific details about initiatives aimed at improving the business environment. Here is President of the association, Mark Abwaji.
Expecting policy direction or the way forward on how they are going to improve the business environment, how at least they are going to reduce or take out some of the taxes. So at least a way of assurance that even though things are hard, these are what they intend doing. I don't want a general statement. I want specifics on what they intend, how they intend to reduce taxes.
The spare parts dealers emphasize the importance of truthfulness in the president's address. They expect an honest reflection on the challenges facing their industry and an acknowledgement of the government's role in addressing these issues. The president's candor is crucial for building trust and fostering collaboration between the government and this vital sector of the economy. Tichi Ado is Communications Officer of the Abosokai Spare Parts Dealers Association.
We didn't do anything last year, and this year too, we are not expecting anything from the government because it's the last speech of the president. He's going. What is he going to say? I'm not expecting the president want to promise anything again because he's not going to be there in 2025.
A section of Ghanaians holds diverse views on what they anticipate from the upcoming address. These perspectives range from economic concerns to social issues and governance.
And for me, I don't see anything new that he's going to say, because what he has been saying from the onset, we've heard it several times.
Akufo-Addo, he has said a lot of things, and we've not seen what he has done. So I don't know what he's even coming to say.
For WADR, Nadidi Tete, Accra.
You are listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal, and online on WADR.org. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Senegalese President Macky Sall proposes a general amnesty bill as national dialogue enters day 2 with a major boycott from political and civil society actors. Unknown men in Burkina Faso killed 14 in a mosque attack in the Sahel region. Religious leaders in Guinea call for dialogue as national strike grips Conakry, leaving 2 dead in confrontations. Still ahead in the news, the federal government of Nigeria orders immediate conditional cash transfers to 12 million households to cushion the hard economic realities. We also have the press review, guest interview, and a sports update. Please stay with us.
You are listening to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal.
Many thanks for staying with us. In Liberia, the pervasive issue of drug addiction has come to the forefront, with new statistics from the country's drug enforcement agency revealing that an estimated 1 million out of the 5 million population are addicted to illicit drugs. Despite the end of the 14-year civil war in 2003, the consumption of illicit drugs has remained widespread, with previous administrations facing challenges to effectively combat drug addiction. WADR's Moravia correspondent Daleton Popper reports.
In recent years, the country has implemented a non-bailable drug law to address drug-related offenses. However, past administrations face challenges due to the lack of political will and financial support for the Drug Enforcement Agency. The narrative is gradually shifting with the appointment of Ibrahim Kroma as the country's new anti-drug chief. Kroma has taken action by apprehending numerous foreign nationals accused of importing dangerous substances. In a news conference, he urges international partners to assist Liberia in a fight against drug addiction.
It's almost 1 million of the 5 million plus people on drugs. Looking at that statistic, I can't be, as a normal person, we are fighting a war that will require the assistance of everyone. It's a war that basically has to do with the soul of the Liberian people at this point. And all of our friends will have to come to help us.
Josephine Koluba, a social worker dedicated to rehabilitating drug-addicted youth voluntarily, emphasizes that winning the battle against drugs requires mobilizing more resources to empower the Drug Enforcement Agency.
It's a very difficult thing to fight drugs, knowing that these people who sell drugs, they have millions. They are ready to spend the money. So on the other hand, for us to actually win this battle, we have to be willing to contribute one way or the other in any way possible to make sure that we win this battle, because we are the victims.
Mark Marion, a Liberian who battled the illicit drug addiction for 16 years, believes that collaborating with the justice system to expedite drug-related cases and engaging all Liberians is the most effective way forward.
I did judge for 16 years of my life. It's a very, very huge task. One individual can start it, and the parents need to join, because if we don't do, we'll find a lot of mad people running mad in Liberia.
At present, over 10 suspected drug importers have been charged and sent to the Moravia Central Prison awaiting trial. This is due to the recent policy change making drug-related offenses non-bailable. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Darlington Popper in Monrovia.
Well, away from Liberia, the federal government of Nigeria has ordered the immediate cash transfer to 12 million vulnerable households. Nigeria's Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, said on Monday that the transfer was crucial to tackling rising prices, especially elevated food prices, and improving the purchasing power of at least 60 million people. The resumption of this initiative comes amid a cost of living crisis and calls by labor unions to cushion hardship caused by economic reforms by the present regime. To address concerns about past irregularities in the conditional cash transfer scheme, a major reason for which it was stopped, Edun emphasized the introduction of strict measures to identify beneficiaries.
Whilst there is still some further work to be done, particularly as regards availability of the financial data, which is still being looked at, the interim report has been submitted, and a key recommendation of the panel was that, especially given the heightened limited household purchasing power at this time of rising prices, particularly elevated food prices, it's important to restart the program. So the direct payments to households, direct payments to 12 million households comprising 60 million Nigerians is to resume immediately, with the important proviso that every beneficiary will be identified by their NIN, National Identity Number, and their BVN, Bank Verification Number. Each person that receives 25,000 naira for a total of 3 months will be identifiable. Even after they have received the money, it will be clear who it went to and when it went to them. In addition, particularly given that whilst the macroeconomic reforms, the important reforms, not just 1 or 2 measures, but the whole package of reforms is relatively on track.
Wale Edun is Nigeria's Minister of Finance.
This is the newspaper review. Stay on top of the news. Get the most important stories with added insight and concise review.
This is the newspaper review.
Now for a preview of major and banner headlines of the Liberian national dailies, let's once again join Darlington Popper.
For this edition of Press Review, we have with us the Independent newspaper, the Hot Pepper newspaper, and the New Dawn newspaper. So we will begin a review process with the Independent newspaper. Without MFDP approval, that's the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, no minister must fire any comptroller. Comptroller General issues serious warning to heads of state agencies, commissions, and others. From the Independent newspaper, we move over now to the Hot Pepper newspaper. NAFA boss requests executive to set up independent committee. Judy Ndi to go to ECOWAS court if what? And we see the photograph of Liberian traditional queen Judy Ndi still pursuing the lawsuit against Prophet Key on the front page of the Hot Pepper newspaper. And the paper is reporting that she had threatened to go to the ECOWAS court if the government of Liberia and the justice system in Liberia cannot accord her justice. On the back page of the Hot Pepper newspaper, FOCO to initiate impeachment proceedings against President Boakai. We will try to get a gist of this story on the back page of the Hot Pepper newspaper. From the Hot Pepper newspaper, the New Dawn newspaper is now our last stop for today's edition of Press Review. Early impeachments call for Boakai. We see the photograph of President Joseph Yuma Boakai and controversial lawmaker Yeke Koluba on the front page of the New Dawn newspaper. New LDEA boss leads citywide race against suspected drug dealers. That's the head of the Drug Enforcement Agency, Abraham Kroma. Following confirmation of A.B. Kroma earlier this February as director of the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency, LDEA, the agency has intensified efforts in combating narcotic trafficking, resulting in the arrest of several suspected drug dealers from various neighborhoods across Monrovia. Just a day into his new role, the newly confirmed LDEA boss spearheaded a special task force to conduct a series of successful raids targeting individuals believed to be involved in distribution and sales of illicit substances. Thank you so much for following Press Review, and bye-bye.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Our guest this afternoon is Mamadou Joy, a Senegalese political analyst who joins us with his analysis of the proposed general amnesty bill by President Macky Sall at the ongoing national dialogue to set a new date for the presidential election.
People are waiting to see what else can be in this amnesty, because people are afraid if they don't pay attention, maybe starting from 2012 when he came to the power up to the end of his power, he can put all the maybe wrongdoings of his presidency in this amnesty for him and his camp to be free of being pursued after is done with the presidency. But we'll have to wait to see when this law will come to the National Assembly, what is inside.
What do you think could be the motive at this time when we have political tension in the country?
No, in fact, this amnesia has no reason to be, because when we look at what happened dealing with this demonstration, political demonstration, along with the situation of Usman Sonko, all these people killed, people was waiting from the president to do justice, because almost 50 people have been killed, and we don't know who killed those people. So the best thing to do first is to know who did that. And then after that, what happened in other country, people can, apologize. And if the victim accept these apologies, we can go on. But we cannot understand that all these people have been killed. And when you listen, those who have been released from jail, how they suffered their tortures and things like that. I mean, this amnesty has no reason to be. I mean, justice first, and maybe amnesty will come afterwards.
Do you see this as an amnesty to benefit victims of the violence or the president's own desire or motive?
This is even tricky for Usman Sonko, because he will benefit from it, because he was the main guy involved in all this demonstration, because his first affair was this lady working in a beauty salon, Ajisar, and afterward his defamation case against the minister. People have been killed in all those demonstrations. So that's why he's even in jail, because when he was arrested last July, what the government said, they said that he is responsible for all what happened from March 21 up to June 2023. So Usman Sonko will benefit from that, because we don't know who killed those people. Even if there are men and women in uniform, there are some civilians who kill people, because we saw civilians who were holding weapons and then going around the street. And then we need to know what really happened, because we cannot say that, it's time for the country to come together and then forget about what happened from March 2021 up to June 2023.
A major concern of the citizen and other partners, it's about a date to be chosen for the election. What's your take about the outcome of today's meeting?
The president make it clear that he's in a hurry to go. He's tired, and then he want to, enjoy a retirement. That's why I'm asking a question. If he's in a hurry, is it really difficult for him to set a date for the presidential election? Because what we perceive in his speech yesterday, it means the presidential election will take place before the rainy season. It means by June, which is not most Senegalese are expecting. And if he leaves the power without organizing election, that's not a good image from him, because when he came to power, it was thanks to presidential election, and there was a peaceful transfer of power from President Abdoulaye Wade to him.
Mamadou Cho is a Senegalese political analyst. Now, in the world of sports, the participants of the 15th edition of the Africa Women's Cup of Nations are now known. The final list of participants confirmed on December 6 includes 12 teams looking to bring the trophy home. From big absentee Cameroon to reigning champions South Africa, 9-time champions Nigeria, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, which pulled a comeback after 25 years of absence, here is all you need to know. The participants are Algeria, Botswana, Ghana, Mali, Morocco, which is the host, Nigeria, Senegal, and South Africa, reigning champions. Others are Tanzania, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Tunisia, and Zambia. The date for the next WAFCON have not been announced yet, but will be held in Morocco, just like previous editions. And that's how we end this edition of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Christian Mukidi and David Vincent for the technical support. I am Abdullahi Hassan. To interact with us via social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, on Facebook, now WADR English Service, and stream live on WADR.org. Good afternoon.